Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Monoxide Podcast. I'm your host, Harris, a.k.a. Monoxide, man of many automotive aspirations. And I'm here with my traveling across the country to pick up just some...
weird stuff.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
Dan, Mr. Gun at Garage. And today we're going beyond the meat. We are a little bit further from home today. We are here at JFB Offroad / Restoration. So I'm curious, actually, do you guys, is it two separate companies?
It's one company. We
Okay.
kind of started out more restoration heavy, but we've been doing a lot more off-road stuff the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay. And so I first heard of you and your company back when you guys went on Crown Rally. I think a lot of people did.
Yes.
So today we have John. Is it Huber?
Yes.
Nailed it. So we were passing through town, and some of our buddies, the Graycos, who will probably come on this podcast at some point, suggested like reaching out to you since you're on this side of the city. And you do some wild stuff, man. You guys do Bronco restorations. You do these Hellcat Demon swapped Jeeps. Just a little different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just kind of tell us a little bit about your company, and we'll just kind of go from there and what you guys do.
Okay. Like I said, we kind of had our niche early on in the first-gen Broncos, the 66 to 77. Back in 2008, I was a general contractor, still am, but I worked every day that year. It was before I was married, before I had kids. And as you guys know, the housing market went to hell. And I remember my accountant saying, is there anything else you like to do? Because you could have stayed home and done better than you did this year financially. I'm like, well, I like cars. I like building cars. I do one in my garage every 2 or 3 years. And I've always had a thing for those first-gen Broncos, and it was before they were a thing. And I bought a few of them and got a shop space and got some friends that were also into the cars and said, hey, we're going to restore these. And everybody said, you're nuts. You're gonna lose everything. But we did find a niche, and it's kind of exploded from there until about 5 or 6 years ago when the Gladiator came out and the JL Wrangler came out. And we said, hey, let's build some Jeeps too. And we decided if we're going to do it, let's do everything you can do to one of these new Jeeps. And we got teamed up with our partners up at America's Most Wanted 4x4 in the Detroit area. And we're a dealer and a vendor for them. They got us into the Hemi swap scene, and it's taken off from there.
And you're, I see you're hooked up with Black Mountain too. Is that's
Yeah, that's Dennis.
Dennis Collins, right?
Yeah, from Gas Monkey fame.
Yep.
So once we started doing the Jeeps, they were looking for a shop in this area, and they reached out to us, had us come down and showed us around, and we decided it'd be a good partnership for us. So we're also the only Black Mountain dealer in the area.
Cool.
We had like our grand opening here with the Jeep stuff, and Dennis and his daughter and Big Chris came up. They're used to sitting in a dirty shop. We had a brewery next door at the time, so we had a nice little party over there. Yeah, it was a good time.
I met him at an auction once. I met Richard too, but it's like a handshake and whatever.
Yeah.
But Dennis, my God, you couldn't find a nicer human being.
He's the
man.
best guy, just
Yeah,
down to earth.
absolutely.
Always makes time for you.
Yep.
Always, we run into him. I'll go a year without seeing him and just run into him at Barrett Jackson, and he'll stop and talk to you. Remembers wife, kids, just checking in. Just a good dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Those guys that remember like everything.
Yeah.
They're few and far between nowadays.
They are.
But remember, like especially like when you're like, oh yeah, how's the wife and kids?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then I guess when did that? So you said 6 years ago was that transition? So I used to have a Gladiator, right?
Okay.
And it was a cute little thing. I had the Rubicon tires on there, nothing too crazy. I got rid of those silly street tires they were putting on them. What goes into a build here? I mean, I'm sure you have tons of different clientele that, want everything from a basic, sort of package to some of the crazy stuff we've seen. Like, I think you mentioned you're doing some Demon swaps, for example.
Right.
So I guess what's the kind of range of builds that you do for people?
So we do anything from just suspension upgrade, lift, wheels, tires, all the way up to complete, suspension, axle swap, powertrain swap, accessories. We've built a $260,000 Jeep Wrangler before. Just
that's crazy.
Taking it from the showroom and just pulling everything you can off of it, and just the sky's the limit with them. I remember when we were first trying to get our foot in the door with Crown Rally, our local vinyl company had an affiliation with them, and they were trying to, give us the recommendation, take a chance on these guys. They're unorthodox, but I think they'd be an asset. and we didn't want to tell anybody what we were building. Half because we thought they were going to tell us no if we did tell them what we were building. But Tom Busen made his way down here, expecting to see like a Slam Jeep, I guess, with slicks on it or something. And we had a Gladiator on 40s with 1-ton axles and a Hellcat in it. And he said, "Yeah, you guys are in. You guys are going to fit right in."
Yeah, because Tom lives down here in Chicago
yeah,
area
he's
too.
in the Orland Park area.
Okay.
Not far.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Kenny and Gary told us that they saw you guys doing things with that Gladiator that some of the cars were doing. Did you guys have obviously some major suspension mods and things to it too, or?
Yeah, we did everything you could do to it. Fully adjustable suspension, the reservoir shocks that are adjustable. We can make them articulate and rock crawl, or we can just tighten everything down. And I've been on McLaren's ass through the tail of the dragon before, and they just don't know how we stay with them, but we can. It's a good time, and a lot of people don't expect much from it. But at that first lunch stop of the rally, they're like, "You guys aren't screwing around, are you?" And we're like, "No, we're not."
That first lunch stop on every Crown rally is the best thing ever, because then you kind of figure out like who's who, right? Especially if it's your first time. Because I went on Crown 8, I was just a photographer, but I was doing a little bit of car hopping. Best experience ever. But that first lunch stop, you just see everybody freaking out, like, "Dude, did you see?" Just reminiscing.
Everybody has the pre-party. You kind of eyeball everybody's gear up and have an idea of what you expect from them. But nobody knows what to expect from a Jeep on 40s until you get into the twisties.
Well, it's like the first thing you think is like, "Oh, great, I'm going to be stuck behind this idiot doing 20 under the whole time." And then it's like, "Oh, he's keeping up." Like every cruise. Like I remember I did a cruise with some supercars with my Gladiator, and they're like, "Harris, you're kicking up rocks." Like, sorry. Yeah. Which I'm sure you were doing plenty of.
Right. We like to stay behind. Stay in the lead pack, but in the back of the lead pack. And it's a little different, the acceleration, the throttle response on these big Jeeps with the big tires. Like, I got to think you're going, and I got to mash it like 2 seconds before you do. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to stay in front of the guy behind me. And if you don't go, I'm probably going to be in your back seat. So it's a little spirited isn't the word for it. It's a little intense when we're rallying these things, but it's a real good time.
You have to think about it a little bit more. Like when I was rallying with these guys last year in the GTI, these guys like had GT 500s. One of them was souped up to 1014 wheel. So every time he'd downshift once, I have to downshift twice. And they're like, "Man, how's that GTI in my rearview mirror this whole time?" Like they lose me in the straights. But that thing is crazy. What do you guys do to, I guess, beef things up? Because I'm sure things were breaking along the way early on. Probably
they weren't. Really? we were shocked. So the very first one we did, we're always under the gun here. It's like overhauling. We got a deadline, and my guys they'll stay here. They'll sleep in their trucks. Whatever we got to do to get done. So we had actually flown out to Denver for the first Crown that we did before the truck was done. And my lead tech, Bob Smith, he got it finished and had 6 miles on it. Put it on a trailer, took it out to Denver, unloaded it in front of the hotel. And we hit the button the next morning and never looked back. But he followed us all the way to Bonneville because he wanted to see it as a car guy, and also because he had the trailer with us and the tools with us just in case. But it just went flawlessly.
You gotta have the tool guy.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, he learned on his rally. He needs to bring tools. You've swapped however many things on
I've
rallies.
done hub assemblies, supercharger belts, all kinds of stuff. I had a rear hub go out one time. I did that in a parking garage. That was with just my travel tool bag, which is never as good as your toolbox you got sitting at home. So I had to go out and buy a hub nut and all that kind of stuff, or a socket to get the hub nut off and everything. But you got to keep moving, man.
But these things are bulletproof.
Knock on wood, we've been lucky on these rallies. We haven't had we did blow a blower on one of them, but we just cut the belt off and we still had 550 horsepower. So it wasn't the end of the day. Was it
an aftermarket blower?
It was a stock blower, but we had it tuned by a company that I was a little on the fence with, and it turns out, they didn't hold up their end of the bargain, and we started doing them in-house since then.
So I'm curious then. So some of these are probably turned up power-wise as well.
Yes.
Well, actually, no, I'm curious. So how do you? I guess because these are all-wheel drive as well, right?
Yeah, they're 2 or 4.
2 or 4.
Yeah.
Is there anything that goes into that? Any difficulties?
Not really. the Rubicon transfer case that comes stock in the Rubicon model will work with everything up to and including the Elephant motor. It'll hold 1,200 horsepower. So we change everything but the transfer case in most of our builds. We use the Dana 80 axles front and rear, the Tom Woods drive shafts. We do a lot of Terraflex suspensions. They actually are the only company that makes coil springs for us. They call them Hemi-tuned coils for the extra weight from the drivetrain. So you still have your travel. It sits right, and they just handle phenomenally. I mean, they built them knowing that people are going to probably track these things. So we always steer people towards the Terraflex brand.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was huge that I was looking out here. What kind of is this Gladiator out here?
That is just a stock drivetrain. It's actually a customer vehicle. We did some work on it for him. He wanted to do the rest at home. He actually put the lift kit on it himself in a friend's shop and then wrecked it on the way home that night. So it had about 2 miles on it when we got it back. And we see that a lot. A lot of people want a little direction, some help getting the parts, and want to take on the project themselves. And 9 out of 10 times they end up back here because, I mean, it's just a lot goes into it to make these Jeeps go down the road straight.
You can only DIY so much.
Yeah,
right. Like take it to the pros. Like we have a number of shops that are coming on the podcast here soon, and they call themselves, the last stop shop. You'll never have to go elsewhere. Do you do a lot of fixer upper stuff too, like outside of the DIY side?
Yeah, we do. We flip here and there when the opportunity presents itself. Yeah, it's just something different for the guys. You can only work on 20 or 30 Jeeps in a row before you want to see something different come through. And it's fun. It's a challenge, but it's rewarding.
So it seems like you kind of have like these crazy big projects come through. Like, so for example, when the Hellcats came out, that was probably like the next level up. Like you're probably like, you incrementally level up. So I guess what were some of the things you did along the way? Like now you're doing these Godzilla motors. I'm sure that was a big step up.
Right. So like when the Coyote swaps became available for the first gen Broncos, that was it. You had to do a Coyote swap. And we've done our share of them, but we were just looking for the next trend, in that genre, and we decided that the next few that we build, we're going to go with the Godzilla motors and see what we can get out of them. I don't think anybody's doing them yet, so
that's wicked.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like they went back to the old school push rod, single cam. Yeah, I think those are going to be pretty
you
stout.
can throw a lot at those motors. And
yeah,
you're going to get a lot out of them.
I just bought an RV, and I wanted a diesel, but they don't give those things away at all.
Right,
So I ended up with a V10 over the 7.3 just because I didn't want to go into that newer year. I was kind of looking for a pre-COVID built RV because they get a little wonky after that.
Right.
But still solid. That motor's been around forever and ever. But I was trying to get a Godzilla as bad as I could. But
we have a guy. I actually just did a photo shoot with a guy last week. He's got one of the first totaled. I think might be the first totaled Raptor R in the country.
Okay.
I don't know. You may have seen the photos on social media.
That. Yeah.
Just crazy, but I think the motor might be good in there, and it's like those things go for a pretty penny too.
Yeah, they do.
And we were talking about this before we started too. So you said everything you get here is through a crate motor.
Yeah, everything that we do on the swap side, whether it be a Bronco power plant or with the Hemi Jeeps, everything comes right from Chrysler or Ford in the crate, engines, transes, everything. And through America's Most Wanted, we've got an open-ended deal through Chrysler for them to keep making Hemis for us. Now that they're taking them out of production in their passenger vehicles, but we'll still have access to them for I think at least the next 10 years.
What have you seen with these new Hurricane motors? Anything?
Not really. We haven't messed with any of them yet. We're always looking for the next thing. We even considered doing like a Ford GT motor in one of these Broncos, twin turbo in it. We still may, but we had the opportunity to try the Godzilla drivetrain out, and I think we're going to do that on the next couple at least and see how that goes. But instead of following the trends, we like to, you get your purists. They want a Ford motor in their Bronco, so what can we give them that they haven't seen already is kind of our approach to it.
And you're doing your own tuning in-house here, you said, or?
We do about half of it in-house. Okay. My tech, Bob Smith, he's really handy. He works with HP tuners a lot on these Hemi swaps, just working out some bugs and getting a little more performance out of them. But the Godzilla project, we've got some other guys we're probably going to bring in on that for the first couple.
Okay.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so I see a lot of these people that you work with. So who was one of the early ones that you were working with early on, I suppose?
Like I said, my main tech, Bob, he's been here since day one. Our old shop back in Joliet, when we started building these Broncos, kind of came up with the name JFB just because, like I said, when I first started saying we're going to build Broncos, they all thought it was not going to be lucrative. And that's where the JFB came from. You know, I would just keep buying these things up, and they're like, "Oh, here comes John with another effing Bronco." So
I was thinking just fucking bonkers or something.
yeah, we tell everybody it's Jeeps and Ford Broncos, but yeah, cat's out of the bag. It's John's fucking Broncos is what JFB stands for.
Yeah, I mean, those things weren't worth hardly anything there for a long while,
No,
and now,
they
I mean,
weren't.
I never thought they would be six-figure cars, much less $200,000 trucks at some point in time. That's just crazy. And there's nothing to them.
There's
What's it
nothing
take to
to
pull a tub off of a frame? A few bolts, and it's...
I've taken one apart myself with a 1/2-inch 9/16 double-sided wrench and a big crescent wrench in probably 3 hours.
Wow.
Just down to the bare frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much to them.
So I guess what's been your, I guess, craziest? Oh, actually, no, better question. What have you done those Elephant motors yet or no?
Yeah, we've done a couple of the Elephant
Really?
Jeep swaps. And the nice thing about those Hemi motors, they all go in the same way. There's a couple changes if you're doing one that's naturally aspirated versus supercharged, but it's just like battery box spacers you got to put in to clear the coil packs. But when we're doing a Hemi swap in a Jeep, the whole body comes off. You unbolt the entire drivetrain. We cut the stock motor mounts off and weld ours on, but after that, it's all plug and play and bolt together.
Why do you keep trying to steer this back to Mopar?
Before we get too far into the show, I wanted to take a moment to talk about Raise a Hood. If your daily driver is having issues, aka your beater you got off Craigslist, Raise a Hood's telemechanics and AI tools can help you diagnose and solve the issues you may be dealing with for a fraction of the cost. All you have to do is add your car to the Raise a Hood garage to get started. You can provide the AI tool, also known as Gus, with the specifics of the issues you're having, and it'll help you narrow down what the culprit is. It's a great way to bounce ideas off of to figure out what actually might be the problem. You could then select from a variety of solutions to explore the cost and difficulty of doing the repair yourself versus taking it to a shop. If your car doesn't have detailed solutions yet, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and add your car to the garage for free, and that'll let the Raise a Hood team know what to focus on as they continue to develop and grow. If you want to try out Gus or chat with a telemechanic, go to raiseahood.com and add your car to the garage to get started. Use code MONOXIDE-FREE for a 1-month free subscription or Monoxide20 to save 20% on a 30-minute call with a telemechanic. Let's get back to the show. Well, I need somebody to take you away from Ford. Oh my God.
Yeah, I like them both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it's crazy because you do both sides of the aisle, right? Because some people are all Mopar, all Ford, and you're just like, I'll do both.
And we're
Right.
all just in the Death Wobble Club. So it's cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
That's one thing we kind of pride ourselves in is we get a lot of, like I said, the guys that will come for parts and put their own lift on, and all these anything lifted is notorious for the death wobble, but
Yeah.
we kind of pride ourselves in solving those problems for people.
I've had it so bad on my F-250 before where it shook everything out of my door panels of my truck. I think I ended up on the floorboard and I went, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we've gotten them in here where I don't know how they made it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just shaking your fillings out.
So I never really had issues with mine. I guess I didn't have anything crazy done to mine, but how do you solve death wobble?
It's all steering geometry. Basically, a lot of guys lift these things without changing other components that you need to maintain that balance.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sway bar links, track bar brackets, adjustable steering linkages, and adjustable track bars. You can tune all of that out of one of these vehicles that wasn't done right.
And they can keep up with McLaren's at Tail of the Dragon.
Yes, yeah. And I remember the last crown we did on South, we were right behind a McLaren on Tail of the Dragon, and he wasn't happy about it when we got to lunch. And I think I had 4 people in the vehicle with me that time. And we get to lunch, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you kept up, but it was probably like a washing machine in there." And the one girl's like, I was drinking tea out of a sauce, a cup, and I didn't spill a drop. He was not happy. He was not accepting the fact that we were able to stay on him.
Probably thought he was way more comfortable in the McLaren. Like, oh, at least they're suffering back there.
Right. Yeah, it's a pretty smooth ride.
That's impressive. And I mean, do they all handle like that, or is that like once you get into the higher echelon builds here?
No, they all do. If you let me pick the brand of lift kit that you want, usually when people don't know what they want, I usually start with tire size. What do you want? And then I'll reverse engineer you a suspension that's going to give you the look and the stance you want, but it's going to handle like I want. And if they give me that kind of carte blanche, then I can make sure it'll go down the road for you.
What's a blank check customer look like? Have you had one of those yet?
Yeah, we have. When we got into Crown, we thought, hey, we're going to build these things, Midwest exotic car guys. Those are our guys. You can't drive that you can't put snow tires on your Ferrari. You got to drive something in the winter, and it has worked out pretty good. Not only as a client base, but I remember the second day of my first Crown Rally, I was sitting there at lunch thinking, holy shit, I'm going to be friends with most of these guys the rest of my life. It was just that kind of an impact that I wasn't expecting, but felt. But we have had a few Crown Rally customers that just said, build me something crazy and let me know what I owe you. And we have.
Yeah, it's funny. I have friends that I'll have for a lifetime too. What a rally will do, it brings people, even though you're spending half your time by yourself in your car,
right?
It really brings together some guys, like-minded people.
Yeah, and I think Justin and Tom and Dan, they did a real good job of getting the right people on board with this stuff, and just the vetting that they do. But it is, like you said, like-minded people. They work really hard. A lot of them are self-made, and when they get a chance to have some fun, they want to do it with like-minded people in those settings.
Dude, the people that go on Crown Rally, like at least everyone that I've met, I mean, amazing. Like, for example, the year that I went, everybody was happy to take me in their car. Like,
yeah.
at one of the gas stations, I was riding with the CTSV. I think it was Marcus, and I forgot his passenger's name. But I was like, hey, is it cool if I go ride with these guys, pointing to the SVJ and the Urus? I'm like, worst case scenarios, they say no, right?
Right.
That's the best thing I've told everybody. He's like, worst thing is they can just say no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So I ended up riding in the SVJ for 4 hours through the Smokies, and it's like, the nicest people ever.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants
Everybody has been great.
Yeah, which it's not the stigma that you kind of grow up with. It's like, oh, these, supercar guys or whatever. And like you said, you immediately knew they're going to be some of your best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy, I met him under my rally, when I was running him back in the day, and now I'm broke because of him. But
yeah,
I guess it worked out.
Right.
So I guess, there's some things that you're working on over here. I would really like, what was that? You said that was a Grand Cherokee in there? Or
yeah, I believe it's a 78 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Actually, a good Crown buddy of ours, Brandon Tang, that's his uncle's vehicle. He bought it new back in 78, and I think he shipped it over to like the car and rallied it, and then brought it back, and it's bounced around through probably half a dozen shops over the last 10 or 15 years until, I got to know Brandon. He recommended us to his uncle, and we got it in. It had been painted, but they didn't do a nice job on it, so we took the whole truck apart, painted it, 6-liter LS swap in it, modern suspension, gauges, everything. We're kind of in the home stretch of finally giving that truck back to him, and we're excited. He, like I said, he bought it new. I mean, he's had a vision for this thing, and it's nice to see, through all the problems he's had with it, that he's finally going to get it back, and it's going to be the way he wants it.
So you said it went to the Dakar?
Yeah, he shipped it overseas and rallied it over there.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
what was the build like before then for that?
So someone, like I said, it had been in at least 4 or 5 shops, and it's been in the restoration process for at least 10 or 15 years. I think it was sitting for 4 years in the shop that we got it from. So everything gets taken apart, milk crated, lost, left behind, and that's kind of, we're just kind of engineering this thing, from what we don't have. I've bought a couple donor vehicles just for the stuff that you can't find on eBay or anywhere else. And he wants it like a brand new 78 Jeep Cherokee would be. So that's what we're trying to deliver for him.
What's a build like that turnaround for you guys here? Because I hear stories like that all the time, years or 1 to 4 years they're sitting at a shop. If somebody brings you something like that, well, how long does it take you guys to churn something?
So I think we told him we were going to need it about a year, and I think we're about a little over a year right now, but that's because it already had an LS in it, and everything that they had done, just going and looking at it in the corner of a shop is different than getting it here and getting it on the lift and getting it apart, and we ended up having to redo almost everything that had been done to it. So we're probably looking at a year and a half total on that build.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it's reasonable considering you had to redo the whole thing, right?
Right.
Like, for example, we had Michael Morgan on. I don't know if you met him on Crown.
Yeah, I know Mike.
Yeah, with the Gramps build.
Yeah.
And it's like, that thing was like a nightmare, sitting for 2 years, and it was just, a husk at the end.
Right.
So you hear all these constant nightmare stories, especially when I posted that video or the highlights. The comments were like, oh, yeah, I did this, sitting for 4 years.
Right.
A year and a half isn't that bad in the grand scheme of things, especially if this happens all the time. Like, one of my friends was getting his car paint and body done, right?
Right.
And they get under there and they're like, dude, there's a lot more to this that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Staring at a corner is one thing, but you got it on the lift here, different story.
Yeah. That's why when it comes to the Broncos, we used to have guys that would buy them off eBay, never see them, have them shipped to us, thinking I just spent 30 for this, another 30 should get me there. And we get it, and we're back down to a bare frame starting from scratch. So that's when I started buying up every donor I could find just to save them the hassle and the surprises of getting into a build like that. So if you call tomorrow and want a brand new Bronco and you don't have one, I've got donors. We just go down our list of what you want, and I can give you a time frame within usually a month or 6 weeks of when this thing's going to be ready for you, turnkey.
We were just talking with a gentleman down in Indy. Does similar stuff to you, restorations and stuff. Does like movie cars and whatever. So we might be having him on the podcast here in the next month or two. But he was talking about like getting some of these like auction cars, and they're rough sometimes. Have you done any of those?
No, we don't. We avoid that.
Oh, really?
Like I said, some of our customers have. They'll find one at auction. They'll spend 80 or 100,000 on it, and they just wanted a different color. And we'll get it back here, and it turns into a full build. So, we have like this dream car program through the restoration side where you just let me know, what you want and what you envision your finished product being, and I'll go find you the donor, and I'll source all the parts, and we'll build it for you. That way, the timeline isn't affected by the surprises that we get once we get your vehicle here, and it's worked out pretty good.
Well, it's kind of like when you take your own parts to a shop and it ends up being a totally different thing.
Yeah.
But you're bringing a whole entire car.
Right.
I mean, the problems just multiply.
Yeah.
So then you probably have a pretty clear-cut method for sourcing cars then.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, you don't have to give it away, of course.
No, I've got people all over the place. Yeah, just finder's fee here or there, grease the right wheels, and I can usually find what I need to find.
So it used to be... It was great because you could get good deals on cars before the internet, right? Because somebody wouldn't know what they had. Those are always cool, but they were hard to find, right? You had to literally go out and drive around or do some or pick up a paper. And then Craigslist came out. Then it was like, all right, cool. Then other people could research what they had and all stuff. And then there was actually another website called Craig Look that would look the entirety of Craigslist because they were pretty regional.
Yes.
And then they got rid of that, and now everything's kind of shifted to Facebook Marketplace. I've seen. It's been an ever evolving thing. But
yeah, I remember I started buying projects off of eBay, and then that cat got out of the bag, and then it would be Craigslist, and then it got to the point where too many people that had the savviness enough to put their vehicle on Craigslist probably knew what they had by now.
Yep.
And then it went to Marketplace and some of those more obscure. But it's almost gotten back to like feet on the ground, guys all over the place that find you those barn finds or those random deals.
We just drove back from Texas, and I'm like, I should stop. I mean, so many OBS Fords sitting in in fields, and those things have gotten crazy. I feel like since COVID probably did the same thing. So another side question here. Do you guys do side-by-sides? Because I feel like since COVID, the whole 4x4 market has also just exploded.
Yeah.
Have you guys kind of seen an uptick on that too?
We have. We've done some side-by-sides for existing customers. It's not something that we advertise. I've got them. My kids ride them. Yeah. We do our own. But, we like to keep the business scalable. And with the present format we have, we got our hands full with the Jeeps and the Broncos and the restoration projects. But it's definitely a growing part of our business is the side-by-side stuff.
Okay.
What about competition wise? Do you guys have you ever built any like competition vehicles or anything like that?
Nothing more than the Crown stuff.
Okay.
Which is semi-competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only think just because of the car thing. Like, it'd be kind of cool
Right.
to have some crazy rally sort of build.
Yeah, we're not opposed to it, but just the opportunity hasn't presented itself yet.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like, you need, again, one of those blank check customers or somebody with a
Right.
crazy idea that's willing to
Yeah.
pay you for it. Because you guys got the skills. You can do everything in-house here.
Right.
Is there anything that you kind of outsource, whether it's like fab work or anything like that?
Right now, we do all of our own fab, our own paint and body work, and obviously our own mechanical work. We do have a couple interior shops that we work closely with that do some real nice work for us. But we like to keep as much in-house as we can.
Well, interior is one of those few and far betweens lately. Like, it's kind of like
Yeah.
one of those lost arts.
It's like a dying breed. We actually had our guy here yesterday who's an older gentleman that closed down his shop last year and is kind of just doing stuff for us out of his basement now. And he didn't realize how far it was from the Midway area. And he got down there. He's like, man, you don't have any other shops down here? I'm like, we don't. There's nobody around anymore.
So is there anything that you guys, as you've scaled, because like how long have you been in business now?
So I started in 2009.
Okay.
And we've been here for 5 years now. So 2019. As far as the future goes, we like I said, to stay scalable. We've got some plans. We purchased 4 acres on the other side of the highway last year with plans to open a much larger shop with a bar restaurant attached to it, just for hosting cars and coffees and poker runs and a lot of events. We're going to have a setup where you can drop your Jeep off as long as we've been in touch ahead of time. We'll have your vinyl ready, your lift, wheels, tires, everything. You can go have a burger and a beer, listen to the band, and we'll pull your truck around when it's done. We're planning on getting into more of the street performance, exotic upgrades. I've got some techs that are ready to come on board once we get moved over and have the space for that. So we're trying to stay as scalable as possible and just building and increasing what we can offer.
What do you mean by exotic?
Just Ferraris,
okay.
Lambos, Porsches, all that stuff.
So you're gonna start doing like in-house Dorado builds, kind of, maybe?
We're not ruling anything out. Yeah.
I just saw one of those. One of my friends has one of the first ones in Minnesota. I think it is the first one in Minnesota, and he just got some really sweet aftermarket wheels. It's a badass car. Like, it's different, right?
It is.
And I'm just saying,
you don't see them.
Off-road Ferrari would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Like you were asking a minute ago about the blank check guys and doing some comp stuff. Larry Chachko, who passed away a couple of years ago, he owned Black Horse.
Was it Black Star?
Black Star.
Yeah.
And he had approached me about doing a build, like a Baja 911 build.
Yeah.
And we were in the process of figuring out what we were going to do and how to do it when he had his accident. And about a year later, I was talking to a customer that we shared. He's done his exotic stuff. I've done his off-road stuff. And I said, just out of curiosity, did you approach Larry about building a Baja 911? He's like, yeah, that was me. He's like, I didn't care what it cost. I wanted it. And yeah, it never came to fruition, but that would have been something I would have been pretty excited about.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
How many out-of-state customers do you have?
I would say a majority of our customers are out of state.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like when you more like Midwest still, or
we ship them all over Canada,
Okay.
California, New York, Minnesota.
Yeah.
We got several customers up that way.
yeah, would you say you just sent up a Demon one to Minnesota?
Yeah, one of our Crown buddies, Brent Wavra, he sold his Ferrari because he wanted something cooler, and we built him a Wrangler with a Demon, 1-ton axles, 40-inch tires, every accessory you can put on it, blacked it out. Really cool truck. He actually flew down a couple weeks ago and drove it home. He's really excited about it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then was that like an entire like interior rehaul too, sort of deal?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, we had an interior built for him. I mean, like I said, everything. We stripped that truck down to nothing. And he knew it, but he couldn't believe it till he got here. Because he's a hands-on guy. He's mechanical himself, and he's crawling around under. He's like, man, there's no Jeep parts left on this thing. I was like, that's what you wanted. So
I hope to see that thing in person. That sounds cool.
yeah, you'll hear it and see it in person. I'm sure. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of so obviously you do these crate motors. Do you try to keep them stock powered, or is there a lot of them that are like tuned up?
We usually end up tuning most of them.
Okay.
Just between the tire size, gear ratios, you get the whole thing together, and then you can just tell if you need to put a little more into it, or sometimes take a little more out of it, adjust shift points. So few of them end up not touched as far as the tuning goes.
Okay. And then do you have any like that have crossed that 4-digit mark at all? Like horsepower wise?
Yeah. Even the Hellcats you can get up over 1,000.
Yep.
And the Elephants start at 1,000. So yeah, we've had some crazy. We did a couple a 2-door Wrangler with the Elephant in it, sleeper, just on stock axles. That's what he wanted. And yeah, that truck, you could feel the front end coming off the ground. I was just waiting for it to flip over.
Especially you said 2-door?
Yeah, 2-door.
Oh my God.
Brand new Wrangler with the Elephant sleeper.
That's probably the craziest one I've heard so far.
Yeah, it was insane.
Because those 2-doors are just like a cube.
Yeah, they are, and just
tiny,
destroying the tires on that thing. Just trying to test drive it around. It was a lot of fun.
So what do you guys do with stock drivetrains? Do you sell them off again?
Yeah,
for
we
the customer,
do.
Or?
I used to have a shelf full of them because they weren't worth anything when they first came out, just because nobody'd blown them up yet. But we're at that point in time. I wondered when it would hit, and it's hit. I'm out right now. Between the 2-liter turbo motors and the 3.6s that they put in the Gladiator and the Wrangler, I can't get them in and get them out fast enough.
I always thought Wrangler needed something because I feel like they got really lazy, right? Because they were the only thing since the Gen 1 Bronco stopped, and they went from that Gen 1 to Gen 2 Bronco, which was one hell of a freaking switch.
Right.
Those were, we went to eat a small Bronco with one of those Broncos. So, but you couldn't have anything else where you took the doors off, had the top open, all that stuff. And then now this new Gen Bronco comes out, and then they start doing, like you said, they released their Hemi Wranglers and stuff like that. I feel like they just kind of got lazy, but I feel like they were underpowered. They weren't.
Yeah, I think so too. So they came out with the JK in 2007.
Yep.
And that ran until the JL in 2018 and a half. But they had no competition. They owned that market, and you could tell that they kind of saw that and saw they didn't have to do anything to it until everybody else saw, the potential there, and the other manufacturers started building accordingly. Like you mentioned, the Hemi Wrangler that came out the day before Ford finally came out with the new Bronco.
Yeah.
Just to kind of steal a little bit of their thunder, but I think it's good for everybody now that there's a little competition in that market, because we're seeing not as many new Bronco customers, but we're seeing quite a few. As opposed to the majority of customers that were Jeep guys up until lately.
It's a cool looking rig too. I like those Broncos when they came out.
I love them.
Oh yeah.
I was nervous. I'm like, because I come from a Mopar family. I'm just like,
Yeah.
Because it's like a good looking. I mean, I know they were having some issues with some of their tops and delays and whatever.
Right.
Most of that's gone now, I'm assuming. But
yeah,
it's a good looking rig.
It is. Yeah, we've got a Wild Track. That's my wife's daily. We put our touches on it. They all come with that gray hardtop, so we sand those down, paint a body color, lift 37s, power steps, a little bit of vinyl, and ship them. We've probably done because through our relationship with our Ford dealer in town here, we were able to get our hands on quite a few of them pretty early, and we couldn't flip them fast enough. But like you said, now the production, the supply chain stuff's kind of caught up with the demand, and they're available. So we're just getting more customer builds, that see our stuff and want the same thing done to theirs.
Has anybody put a Coyote in one yet?
No, there's a company down in Texas that knows that we do the Hemi swaps and the Jeeps, and they are still working on developing a kit for the new Broncos. And they've recruited us to invest or become a dealer installer, and I'm still waiting for something I can go down there and drive.
Yeah.
So as soon as they have that, we'll go down and check it out, and if it seems like it's going to be viable, then we'll definitely get into that market as well.
Sweet.
So who tears into development here then? Is that like you get in there and you visualize everything, or do you have like a team here that's like, all right, here's the next platform, like, again, Coyote, for example?
Yeah, like myself and my main tech in there, Bob, we kind of sit down over a beer and just say, okay, this is what we have done. This is what everybody else is doing. what can we do that hasn't been done yet by us or by somebody else. And then I usually come up with the ideas, and he figures out how to make it all work. I don't know how he does it sometimes, but he does it.
Well, it's kind of far away from you just doing it yourself.
Right.
How many employees did you say you had here?
So we've got 6 guys here full time right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does everybody kind of do everything? Because I know you have the paint booth over here.
Right.
Do you just have a dedicated guy for that, for example?
So we've got 3 guys that mainly just do fabrication and paint and body, and then the other 3 guys that wrench most of the time. Bob is probably one of the best wrenches and one of the best paint body guys I've ever seen. So it's nice when we get a little work heavy on one side of the shop, he can help out and just keep things moving.
So do you guys do a lot of like bread and butter stuff too?
Yeah, we do a lot of like smaller lift kit jobs, 2-3 day jobs, just just keep the lights on, just keep money coming in between the big builds.
Have you done a 6x6 yet?
We haven't. I'm not a big fan of them. I've driven quite a few, and they're just not practical. I couldn't rally them. I couldn't off-road them. I can look at them. That just doesn't really excite me that much.
I just did a photo shoot with one, I want to say about a month ago.
Uh-huh.
It's obnoxiously big.
Yeah.
And then I even heard some of those like middle wheels often don't work anyway, like they're disconnected.
Right. Yeah, about half of them I've seen are true 6x6s. The other ones are 4x4s that are just dragging an extra axle around behind them.
And the craftsmanship isn't quite there on most of them, from what I've heard.
It's the ones that I've seen. I haven't been impressed with. It just seems like they came out and it was a niche, and guys just wanted to get them out as fast as they could, as opposed to as good as they could.
And they're not cheap either.
No, they're not.
I think
what you get.
I think a lot of them are asking for like high 100s, low 200s price wise.
Yeah, the ones I've seen, and most of them are powered by that stock 3.6 power plant.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you add an extra axle, and they usually lift them, put all these bigger tires on them, and just the weight of the vehicle, and they don't do anything with the drivetrain.
Yeah, like the one that I shot, I think it's what is it, a 3-liter diesel? I think from
garbage eco diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it had that still, and this thing weighs probably 12,000 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of diesel stuff come through here?
What was that?
Do you have a lot of diesel stuff come through here?
We get our share.
Okay.
Yeah, just the diesel Jeeps. We've got lift kits that are diesel specific. We just did one of those last week, a return customer.
What makes a diesel specific?
I think there's some front suspension components and just shock mount positions that are different on the diesels than they are on the 3.6s or the 2 liters. Like I said, with the Terraflex stuff, I know they have specific part numbers for the diesel Jeep stuff as opposed to the gas.
You get trucks like my F-250 out there and stuff like that too? People
yeah,
come
we
in for
do.
lift kits and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're actually, what year is yours?
2016.
Yeah, I think we've got a guy with a 2012 that is looking to do like the straight axle swap and 1 tons all the way around it. Yeah, we get our share of those in here as well.
A lot of you guys know Ratified Motorsport for their RS3, TTRS, 1,000 horsepower hairdresser car builds, but they are so much more than that. From basic maintenance on an R35 GTR to, cute little Volkswagen GTIs like mine, they're able to do a little bit of everything. Whether it's your basic maintenance or an intake and a tune or even a full-blown build, be sure to go to ratifiedmotorsport.com to get yourself booked today, and I hope to see you guys at the shop.
What's something that's just kind of off the wall that you've worked on in recent years, like just different?
Yeah, we've done some oddball stuff in here. I know we painted a tractor for a guy in town for a breast cancer awareness parade he was doing. So it went down to the frame, painted everything pink, and he said, I can bomb can it myself. I want this to look like it was professionally done. So a lot of pink.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of parts and a lot of pink for a couple weeks there.
Do people just come to you for just paint sometimes?
Yeah, we do quite a few just paint jobs. Yeah.
Rust repair, stuff like that too, rockers.
Yeah, we do our share of sheet metal work. We try to shy away from it. Like on our Broncos, we build all of our own bodies from scratch. Dynacorn reproduces every panel that Ford made. They bought their tooling and reproduced those parts. We've got a jig. We've actually built tubs for them before. And, we like to use new metal when we can as opposed to trying to do rust repair. You never know what you're getting into until you get into it. Yeah.
Do you do anything on like the dealer side? You said you source some of these Broncos. Do you just sell them as is sometimes?
Yeah, we've got a real good relationship with the local Ford dealer in town here. They also own a Jeep dealership in Bourbonnais, which is 5 minutes away. They've got 11 total Ford and Mopar stores, like in the Midwest, like Northern Illinois, Western Indiana area. So we've built, restoration vehicles for them to on spec. We built the older Broncos for them. They're kind of an outside of the box thinking company, which a lot of these new car companies aren't. We're actually in the process of replacing their like Black Widow and Rocky Ridge builds, just to have a few uplifted vehicles, Jeeps, Rams, F-150s, F-250s on each of their lots, which is it's a nice relationship to have when you're trying to source something too. Like I said, we got a lot of the new Broncos early on through them. Anything we need Jeep wise, they usually get it for us right away.
Well, like my dad's dealership, like they do a lot of that too. Like they have a couple partner shops, and they'll just send their Jeeps off and get super customized. Like my mom has one of those pink ones, the Tuscadero pink ones.
Yeah.
And she had some custom stuff done too. Nothing crazy, but again, it's one of those things. Like, all right, here's our whole catalog.
Right.
And then do you do a lot of like if you guys do anything for those dealerships, is it typically like warranted stuff as well?
Right. Yeah, that's the big thing is a lot of the new car dealers don't want to get into the upfitting because of the warranty implications. But we've got a real good warranty program that is honored through the dealerships. Anything that we didn't touch, they cover. Anything we did touch, we cover.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember seeing an article, it might have been Motor Trend or something, where there was like a dealership doing like Whipples on the new Ford trucks or whatever it was, like straight, and just covered it.
Is that? Are they out of Ohio maybe?
Lebanon Ford is a big one. I think
Yeah.
there's a couple of them that are like your performance dealers, and you can get what they call the sleeper F-150.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking about.
Yeah.
They're expensive though.
Yeah.
They put a nice
In the
sticker
grand
on.
scheme of things, though, I mean, look what a Raptor R is. I mean,
Right.
what a supercharged 4x4 truck you can.
Yeah, I know you guys know Gary and Kenny. I don't know if they told you, but they each just ordered the sleeper trucks, so they're going to put their own package on them. I'm excited to see what those guys do with those things.
I love those things, man.
Yeah,
like
me
for
too.
40 grand, 45 grand, whatever it comes
Yeah.
out to. Man, it's one of those. It's on my top 5 list of things I want right now.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you throw like a Gen 6 Whipple on it. Oh, get out of here, dude.
Yeah, forget it.
Yeah.
That the Lebanon Ford, that's the one that I was familiar with. They do a lot of cool stuff over there. And we're trying to, like I said, our guys here, they got that mentality. We haven't gotten it to that point yet with the aftermarket stuff, but I mean, people are coming from all over the country to Lebanon Ford because they're just a small town Ford dealership that does really cool stuff. And we're trying to get that kind of relationship and business plan going with our local guys too.
What about TRXs? Have you done much of those?
Yeah, we've had a couple. We really didn't do a whole lot with them. They're fun trucks too, though. I mean, myself, I prefer the same power plant in a Jeep that weighs a lot less and handles a little more nimble. But yeah, they're cool trucks for sure.
Do you have any like referral partners that you kind of like? I mean, I guess is there anybody you want to shout out? Like that you work with on like the tuning side or whatever?
Yeah.
Putting you on the spot, I know.
Yeah,
but...
I know. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank right now. We had a local tuner in town here that was purchased. I think it's Nelson, not Nelson, not Nick. I'm thinking Nick Nelson. Yeah, for whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank.
I gotta get Nick on at some point. He's good stuff.
Yeah, he's a good dude. They're over in Watseka. I can't believe I'm not thinking of their
That's
name
fine.
right
Just
now.
throw it in the Facebook comments at some point.
Watseka, Minnesota?
What's that? No,
not
Watseka, Indiana.
okay.
Yeah, or Illinois. I'm sorry. They're only probably 40 minutes from here. Nichols Paint and Fab.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were a small shop. Now they are a huge shop. Really good, down to earth guys. We send them work. They send us work. Even when we bring something over there that's built and done just for a tune, they'll throw it all over their social medias. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, we kind of like cross promote each other.
That cross promotion is huge, especially up in Minnesota. A lot of shops have doubled or tripled in the last couple of years, and it's awesome to see them all collaborating with each other. It's just huge. A little shout out goes a long way.
Yeah, it does, and just that mindset. We're not competition. There's enough work not of the specialized stuff for everybody. Just help each other out. If you're too busy, send it to them. If they can do it, send it to them. It's a real good relationship to have.
So speaking of collaboration, then I'm sure you guys aren't the only people doing like Hellcat swaps in the country. Is there some of these other? Or I guess who else do you collaborate with? I'm sure there's like a forum for you guys or something.
So America's Most Wanted, I mentioned them earlier. They're out of Holly, Michigan, which is near Detroit. They kind of came up and did all the R&D and came up with the swap kit, and then they took us on as a dealer, and I think they're up to maybe 30 stores nationwide.
Wow.
Which I don't really consider a competition. We're the only one in the Midwest, and it's nice when, like you mentioned earlier, out-of-state customers. If I got a guy in California, it's nice to know there's a shop within 100 miles of where he lives in case there is an issue. We've had guys in the Colorado area just with the altitude, the atmospheric changes in the tune, that need to be a little tweaked once they get them out there, and we've got a shop there too. So it just. I don't see it as competition. It's just kind of a network.
Well, it kind of helps everybody, right? Like, for example, when some of these drag strips are shutting down, these last couple of years, like, it kind of hurts the sport as a whole, right?
Right, yeah.
Same thing applies. Is like the more shops you have to go service, yes, your competition, but not really. It kind of helps the overall brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're selling a more viable product if, you're 2,000 miles from me, but there's somebody there that's going to honor your warranty and take care of you locally.
Well, it's like up in Minnesota, we have a problem because we don't have a McLaren dealer. So you have to ship it down to Chicago, and that's why a lot of people don't like. I know I have a number of friends that want McLarens, and granted, they have a tech that comes up from down here in Chicago. I think a handful of times a year to fix all the McLarens, But it's like if we had a dealership up there, you'd have, like, for example, we just had a Ferrari dealership open up there, and I think there was like 300 orders.
No kidding.
And I think about half of them were local.
Yeah.
That first year for like deliveries, just crazy. I was gonna ask earlier, what about like drivetrain loss, right? Because you have those big tires, you have all this. Because like for example, the TRXs are 702 horsepower as opposed to 707.
Yeah.
Is there a lot that gets lost through those big tires and everything?
We haven't dynoed too many of them, but we kind of, like I said, with the tuning, we just get them together, drive them, and then if they need a little more, we throw a little more at them. We don't want anybody to ever feel like they made this kind of investment and they're still underpowered. So yeah, if we can't roast all 4 of them, no matter how big they are, we're not going to ship it.
Sweet.
So you say roast. Did you do a few burnouts on Crown?
Yeah, I've been known to do a burnout here or there. Around the right company. Peer pressure goes a long way.
You need friends like that.
Yeah.
Well, you need to sell some Jeeps, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. Nothing sells anything better than burnouts.
That's right.
What's been your most like popular build? Like, what have people just been like, oh my God, that's crazy?
I think the last rally we did, we had that Gecko Green Gladiator with the Demon motor, and it was tuned up on 40s. That one I think AMW just developed some like Demon headlights, so the center portion of the headlight would glow red if you wanted it to, and just pulling up behind somebody with those red headlights on, and just you can't hear anything over that exhaust and that blower when you're ripping by them. And a lot of people remember that truck. That was probably one of our most memorable builds.
What was the gray one?
The first gray one we did had a Hellcat in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of aftermarket blowers, or you usually do stock on those?
We usually leave them stock, and that they're just so tunable. We usually just leave the stock blowers on there.
Okay. That makes sense. And we are coming up here on an hour, so obviously I want to be respectful of your time. It's the middle of the week here, so we just kind of dropped it on you, like, hey, we're in town.
Yeah, no, we're glad to have you guys.
Well, it's just, I think this is just like a perfect opportunity to come out here.
Yeah.
But Dan, do you want to pop the usual 3, or unless you got a rabbit hole or 2 you want to go down?
No, I think I'm. Have you worked on every generation of Bronco? You guys get 78, 79 ones and stuff?
Yeah, we actually, I'll show it to you guys when we're done here, but we've got a 78 in the back for a good customer of ours. He was out of Barrett Jackson a couple of years ago, and I think it might have been Brett Michaels had a K5 Blazer that they roadstered out, And he's a Ford guy, and he's like, man, he's like, if this was a Ford, he's like, it would be my dream truck. So find me a 78 Ford Bronco and build me a Roadster. And that is the last generation we hadn't touched. So yeah, we've covered them all.
Oh, sweet.
Before you pop your thing, actually, so I kind of alluded to this earlier, but what's your dream build right now? Like, if you could have unlimited budget, what would you do right now for a customer or yourself?
I got to tell you right now, just with the timing of the development of what we've got in-house, I'm really excited about this Godzilla Bronco project.
Okay.
I think it's going to fit in there way better than the Coyote does, and it's going to perform better, and it's just cool to say that you got a Godzilla in your Bronco.
Yeah, it's Japanese, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, sweet. Pop the usual 3.
All right. Well, after every episode, we'd like to ask our guests to pick 3 cars: a track car, a daily driver, and a show car. You have an unlimited budget. Obviously, in your realm, swaps, builds, all that is all okay. What are you picking?
Man, that's a tough one. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have like those, I don't think typical like car guy aspirations when it comes to certain stuff. Like right now, I'm really into like late model American muscle stuff. It seems to be what I've been purchasing lately. Like my daily, I've got a Ford Raptor that I drive every day, and I love it. And we tuned it up, put it on 37s. I probably wouldn't trade that. As far as a track car goes, we talked about this earlier. I've got 2015 Roush RS1. And I think I would like to find another one of those that's not as low mileage as mine, and just gut the interior and put everything you can put on that tiny motor and just take it to the track and see what I can keep up with.
Yeah.
As far as like the fantasy car, I think it would probably be like a Gen 4 Viper. I had a GTS back in the day, and I catch myself looking at those more than I should probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd probably be it for me.
So like a Gen 4 ACR?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Just something ridiculous. Like I said, you know, the late model American muscle, I think that is about as far as you could take that, you know, with what's available in the market.
I like where your head's at.
Yeah, that's where, probably not what most guys would aspire to, but.
You're not that far off, especially from like a Ford/Dodge guy. You're like right on par with what I would expect. I mean that's.
There's some other weird stuff I'm looking for. Like I'd like to find a low mile stealth RT.
Oh my God.
A 79.
I feel like you and I could be best friends.
Yeah, 79 Mustang pace car.
Oh shit! I got one
turbo.
at my house.
There you go.
It's the most original one I've ever seen, but it is a basket case. I can put my hand through. I could change the brakes from inside the engine bay.
Yeah, with those Recaro seats.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got those in it. Yep.
We might be related. We're gonna have to.
Yeah, I think so.
Investigate.
Might have to ask my mom if she was ever hanging out down here in Illinois.
Yeah, I'm from West Virginia originally, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I can think of that I've been looking for is like an '87 Monte Carlo Aero Coupe, nice stock, clean one. Just put it away. Yeah, I think it's more stuff that when I was a kid that I wanted. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
JFB Offroad.com, Facebook, Instagram. I think we've got a YouTube and a TikTok also. I'm not as up on that stuff as I need to be, but yeah, maybe we'll talk about that afterwards.
For sure. And then Dan, as for you?
You can find us at Gunna Garage with 2 N's. We're on this trip picking up a fun little project. I probably should have taken some video and stuff on our whole journey. If only I was with some kind of social media expert the whole entire time. That could have helped me with that. But it's fine. I'll get some videos and give it to the wife and see if she can make me up some cool stuff, and we'll get it posted.
The social media expert isn't free. Yeah. What was I going to say? So we got a number of events coming up. We're going to be up at Power Cruise. That's going to be awesome. We're going to be camping up there. We're going to be doing some podcasts up there. Have you heard of Power Cruise, by the way?
I have.
Yeah, you got to come up. You got to bring that Jeep up there to hurt some feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Adam, does he go to that?
Adam Smith?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was telling me about it a year or two ago.
Yeah, that's his thing, dude. Partying and racing cars.
Yeah, they bring the camper out there and just have a good time. Travis, I think Travis was with them.
I think so. I think he might. Yeah, I think he was up there once or
Yeah.
twice. Yeah. And then we also have the performance driving school the day after Power Cruise. So if anybody wants to camp with us and just learn a thing or two, North Star Speed Summit, that's coming up. That's going to be awesome. We're going to be camping up there too. I'll release more details on that. But I think that covers it. You found me. Monoxide at everything. Thank you so much, John. This is awesome. I'm glad this worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to get you guys together. This was great.
Yeah,
this is cool. We'll go check out some projects in the back of the shop. And as for all the listeners, we'll see you all next time. Dan, thanks for existing, and see everybody next time.